All right. So, hello and welcome to today's live. Today's Manifestation Monday. Sometimes I do Transformation Tuesday, sometimes I do Manifestation Mondays, but I do try to go live here every single week. Oh, so yesterday I did a live in regards to it was a feminine energy activation and just so much invitation in regards to the feminine energy. And so I want to continue. This is for men and for women, by the way, with the same topic. And first, coming into the body, taking a moment to actually feel your body, to actually focus on your hands, to breathe into your hands and out, to breathe into your pinky on your right side and out. And moving to the next finger and out. These are different mudras, by the way. Inhaling in again to the next one and out. Becoming very aware of your hand. The next one in and out. Your thumb in and out. Your next hand, beginning with a thumb in and out. Starting with the fingers, index finger and out. Next in and out. Next in and out. And the last one in and out. Bring awareness to your hands. Bring awareness to the palms of your hands. Continue breathing while I charge my laptop so that we can continue this session without being interrupted. So coming into your body even more than before. Becoming aware of your heart. Noticing how open or closed it feels. Noticing if there are any clouds of to-dos or judgments or anxieties or worries around it. Or maybe it's just open and free-flowing. Like spaciousness, the energy of spaciousness as your chest opens fully. Noticing where you're at. You see, this is why the feminine energy is so necessary. Coming into the body, connection to the body, connection with the subtleties of life. That is the feminine energy. And sometimes we can get too lost in that. A lot of people experience that when they start their spiritual path and they have a spiritual awakening and they're just feeling things all the time, men or women, and getting lost in that too. Because it's that beauty, it's a combination of the body and the mind. I shared something recently on my story in regards to the new program that I have starting soon, the Reawakening. It's awakening that feminine energy. This one's only for the women though, and how there are 3 pillars to it. And that is connection. From that connection, we thrive. So the second one is thriving. And after you thrive, you magnetize things to you. And throughout all these 3 pillars, we have weaved in surrender, the energy of surrender. And someone commented saying, oh, it's source versus the mind. And it's no, because the mind is also from source. It's like so many of us antagonize the ego. The ego's wrong. The ego's bad. The ego is what makes my life horrible. It's not. Without your ego, you wouldn't survive. You wouldn't remember where you live. You wouldn't remember to eat, that your body needs that. You wouldn't remember your name. And so the mind is amazing. It's phenomenal. And it too is from source. So it's not something to be denied. It's not something to be rejected. It's not something to be fixed. It's something to be loved and to evolve and transmute and transcend and, taking the mind on this journey of transformation instead of rejecting it, which you can do because, again, we can't have a physical experience without the mind, without the ego, because we remember how to eat again because of the ego, right? And so a lot of us get lost in this place of, okay, too much feeling and getting lost in the mind because the body is the extension of the mind. And sometimes what we feel like, it's like there are these sayings like, oh, the body just knows. Sometimes what we know is what comes from the mind. That, like, when you think a thought of, let's say, anxiety, I don't know, my partner is being unfaithful, or, oh, I'm not going to have enough money. We feel that in the body. And that's why it feels really real, right? Because your thoughts become feelings and you feel it in the body. And there's so much research that your thoughts can literally make you sick. The stress can create health problems, or like it's really real because my body's experiencing it. So sometimes what we feel in the body comes from the mind. And sometimes what we feel in the body comes from source. You know how we go into, I just did that. Like, I don't know, but it was like a whole body yes. It like came through me. So similarly as, the mind, we it's like thoughts. Sometimes they come from the ego, from the programming, and sometimes they come from source. And same with the body. What is operating you? What is moving you? Is it source, or is it your mind and your programming and your restrictions? And how do we know the difference? And this is why the importance of feeling into it, choosing to empty, choosing to let go. This is the feminine energy of being one with life, of dancing with life, of not when we're not using energy to fight life, right? Something happens and you're like, well, I don't want this to happen. This did not go my way. And we're using all this energy to fight it, to fix it, to say why this is wrong or what this person did is not okay and how they're wrong and I'm right. We're using so much mental energy instead of just emptying and allowing source to move through us. And learning how to do that, learning how to dance with life is the feminine energy. Now, I want to share something really powerful. This is Manifestation Monday and the reason I'm bringing this into Manifestation Monday, because you can't manifest without the feminine energy, men or women. If you're not one with life, if you're not open to that receptivity, you can't manifest because the masculine energy is just doing, going, getting, achieving, giving, and it's important. But for this to be a full cycle, a healthy cycle, you have to also go back and receive. When we say we want this, but all of our doors are closed, so it's like it's coming in, but we can't receive it, we're not going to be happy. And we as a society, we're shamed for so many things, including receptivity, including openness. It's like, oh, I'm going to owe this person, or, oh, why are they so nice? Like even receiving a compliment, so many of us have problems with that. It doesn't feel safe. And we all have our reasons. This is the work that I do with my one-on-one clients, of getting at the root of that. Like, why aren't I open to life? Why don't I trust life? Why don't I trust other people? And that really goes into you don't trust life, and opening up that channel and just then creating with ease. So your mind doesn't have control over you. I'm just smiling right now as I'm thinking of several clients that when we started together, they had trouble sleeping and they're like, I have all these nightmares, or like, I'm always overthinking right before bed. There are so many thoughts of like, what's the next day or how this day was different, who could have been different. And then after we work together, they're like, oh, I sleep like a baby because the mind is just empty. And it's that simple. It's that easy. This is what I do in my 3-month containers, that that's not the default. Like we just feel like it's the default because we're so disconnected from that feminine energy within us. And when you come into this balance between the two, it's really, really powerful. So, one of the things that I want to bring in here was a dream that I had that I recently did a workshop, dream work, and it was all about how, we work in the dream state, how we create in the dream state, how we manifest in the dream state. And it may have something to do with the fact that yesterday I did on here on YouTube the feminine energy activation and just so much. And this morning I also did a video with a friend of mine talking about the repressed feminine energy and how we don't allow it and how we restrict it and how it's just like they're looking to expand and we're shutting down, just like we're shutting down life. And the dream was so powerful. And it was that this mother who had a baby that was somehow delivered. It was like, it wasn't even, it was delivered by the father in the sense that it's as if, it was like a reptilian kind of concept that, or birds that they lay eggs. So it's like the mother was pregnant, but then she comes into the room and the father's like, oh, I delivered the baby, like the baby's out now. Um, as if like from her belly, but she was in another room. And in this, like, okay, so it's the masculine, what this represented was the masculine holding the feminine creation when it's not meant to. And then coming into, there was another scene of the same mother there with her baby and caring for her baby. And she has another three daughters. So it was really this figure of the mother. There's a feminine aspect, having three daughters. And all four of them felt very stuck in a masculine, not masculine, because masculine is like a balanced masculine is a really powerful force. Like it holds a container. This was more men and like shadow masculine within society or within ourselves. That even they went to this workshop where they were taught, about crystals and oils and things that are really like intuitive and feminine. And it was taught by this man that was really rigid and like, this is right, this is wrong. And his energy was off. And it's like he's teaching these arts that he has no business teaching because he's not intuitive enough to feel connected to it. And in this room, in this workshop, there are all these women that felt kind of like dependent on him, or that was like, it felt like a cult leader that, like, okay, this is right and this is wrong, and like, follow me and I know, instead of inviting people to their own knowing, to their own freedom. So it was this illusion of you get access to it, but not really. Like you get access to these things, to these tools, but you're not actually allowed to tune into your power as feminine, as women. And um, then that little baby died, and the name of the baby was actually Magdalene. And I woke up and looked up, what Mary Magdalene stood for, because that's also a very powerful character and an archetype and energy to work with. And so it stood for spiritual awakening. It stood for, and it was this beautiful blue-eyed baby, and it stood for that feminine being repressed and this feminine not allowing to be expressed and feeling trapped in this village, and like even older women that were kind of had this masculine energy of like, no, this is just the way it is, like the elder women not supporting, the expansion of the next generation, but just saying, no, that these are our rules and this is just how we live. And I absolutely love, because we just did an amazing video with a friend of mine talking about, she's a makeup artist, and we're talking about the feminine being repressed, and especially in Eastern Europe, and how there's this mother-in-law who has such expectations of, this is what my daughter-in-law has to be, and she has to cook and she has to clean, and this is, what a good daughter-in-law, even though she herself was at some point oppressed and bullied in the same way by her mother-in-law, or maybe by her own family. And this is passed on, like that poison is passed on from generation to generation. And so this was also in the dream of just like, even the older women aren't there to support. They're there to just know this is the way things are. And as something that I did in the workshop of like learning to shift those dreams, because in the subconscious state, this is how we create, this is how we manifest. And this was such a dream for the collective that we don't have to go along with that. That your creations, again, men or women, your creations that you're birthing, the creativity is feminine, intuition is feminine, connection to life is feminine, connection to Shakti, to life force is feminine. That does not get to be created through a men, like a shadow masculine filter. It doesn't get to be done by that. It's not supposed to. And can we trust enough? Because we want to say like we're oppressed and we're, I'm not giving the freedom to do that, or here this is the social conditioning, again, especially because we just did the workshop. And you can totally say, I mean, even though I lived all over the world, I come from Eastern Europe, so I know this mentality really well. And you can say it's like, well, no, that's just how it is. And I'm like being bullied by my family or by my mother-in-law that this is how, a good wife should behave. But it's up to you whether you're accepting it or not. And I know in my relationships, coming from that, and in my past relationships, there was definitely this like, oh, well, this is what you're supposed to do. And I say, no. And I remember saying to my partner, I'm like, when he expressed some expectations of some things being clean in a particular way or whatever, and I say, have you seen how your mother does that? And have you seen how your mother never eats with us or she just like serves? I don't want that for myself. I don't choose that. And stepping away from that. And this is just one example in the ways that, we can absolutely say, well, this is just being dumped on me and I'm a victim of my circumstance. Or we can say, no, I'm not choosing this anymore. And it's okay if you choose that. And it's okay if you want to be miserable, but I don't choose this. And this is literally in everything, right? This is you being next to somebody who's low frequency and bitching about how everything sucks. And you're like, yo, this is your story. It's not my story. I don't choose to manifest from that place. So the feminine is not only receptive, it's also discerning. And again, this is something that we're covering deep in the Reawakening program starting in June. There's going to be a link below if this resonates with you to check it out. And you can reach out to me if you have more questions. How it's not just receiving. It's not just going with, oh, okay, somebody tells me to do this and this is what I do. It's discerning. Okay, I'm receiving this. How does this feel to me? No, thank you. Oh, yes, please. More of that. And until we learn this discernment, which is very feminine, like the masculine is just direction. It's like, I want this, I'm going for this. The feminine is discernment because she's receiving and she's not accepting just everything. She's discerning. She chooses. She feels into, is this an alignment or not? And that's the feminine, the power, one of the many gifts of the feminine energy. And until we learn to tune into that, we're going to be lost. Because we're either just going to shut it down completely because we're not trusting and just going into like masculine burnout without being connected to life to inspire us, to kind of be that wind. What I'm seeing right now is like this beautiful sailboat, and you need that wind for the sails to, for the boat to move forward. And that's life force. That's the feminine energy. And we need both for that boat to move, right? The boat itself, the structure, and that wind, and being in alignment with that. So, what are you hearing me say on this note? What is coming up for you? Where is it that, and I would love to hear that in the comments. How connected do you feel to your own feminine energy? Where is it that you're like, I'm not allowing my Shakti. I'm not allowing that life force. I'm kind of like, no, mind, like that's safer. And there's no judgment. Like I was totally there a few years ago. Or where is it that maybe you're just too much in that feminine, like, oh yeah, I'm all about life and I'm not taking those action steps, or I'm not in a decisive place. So where are you at? Let me know. And on this note, I'm wishing you such a powerful day.